Do you like Silky Tones and Pendulums? Are you curious about how to craft words to take someone to a state of trance? Or would you like to explore trance as a subject? Well, this is a podcast with a focus on all things hypnotic. My name is Fish the Hypno Bear, and I will be your host. I will share my personal experience and knowledge on how to utilize words, touch, implements, and the environment around you to practice and experience trance, along with other uses for hypnosis. The topic of this episode is Hypnotic Inductions Part 1. We're going to be covering relaxation as an induction to hypnosis and cover a few different forms. We are going to cover how it works, focusing on a few different types. One is the progressive relaxation. Another is guided imagery. We're going to discuss use of breathing and a few different ways to make that work for you, as well as using eye fixation and modifications for those of you with different ways of mental imagery. Because some people have the ability to see pictures in perfect 3D detail, some see perfect darkness, and most of us are somewhere in between. So I'm going to cover a little bit of how you can work with that. Now, if any of this doesn't sound familiar to you, these terms that I'm using, I would strongly advise listening to my first episode, Hypno Kink 101, where I cover the basics of trance, general vocabulary, how trance works, and very basic introduction to the type of inductions. That being said, I'm going to jump right in, so just keep in mind if you need a little refresher, go ahead and visit that prior episode. So, relaxation. Relaxation inductions are fairly common and very popular for a reason. When you think of hypnosis, many think of that feeling of sleep and peace and calm. Thoughts going away and the mind kind of shutting down. And relaxation seems kind of a standard way to approach that. And this is true. There's a lot of things you can do with it. But before we get into that, we'll talk about the different methods. So, progressive relaxation is the relaxation of the entire body, muscle by muscle generally, either working from top of the head down or from the feet up. And there's a few different ways to do that, which we'll go through. Another is just general relaxation, where you can focus on the breathing and how the breath in and out eases the body and mind into that peace and calm. Others are guided imagery, basically taking the subject on a journey through the mind with different sensations and images that they can go to their mind. And also, eye fixation, which I tend to frequently combine with relaxation, so I'm going to do that in this case. We are going to briefly cover also what you can do once the relaxation induction has occurred. If you want an example of relaxation inductions in trance, I do have 2 files that I have released, currently both on YouTube and on SoundCloud. One is the Lakeside Journey, and the other is the 4 Seasons. Those are actual trance files, but that's a couple different examples of what you can do with relaxation inductions. I will have more in the future. Alright, so first thing I want to discuss is breathing. Breathing is very important when it comes to relaxation, because that's how you get guided down to that state. Now, there's different views on how to use breathing in induction. Some go with the route of controlling it, telling the subject how to breathe, when to breathe in and for how long, when to hold the breath and for how many seconds, and when to release and for how long. And that can be very effective. For some, it is less so. I personally don't prefer it because what is a deep breath for me may be very different than one for you. And as a subject, I would find myself getting very irritated when I was told when to breathe and how long, because it doesn't work for me. But as it can be effective, I'm going to explain that method too. One common method is called box breathing, which is also used for calming down, relaxing from anxiety, so it's highly effective. That is, you breathe in for a count of 4. So breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4. You hold the breath for 4 seconds, and then you breathe out for 4 seconds. And repeat this. And one thing this does is it gets you on a specific set rhythm. For 2, it gives some more control over to the hypnotist, which is helpful in that little bit of power exchange. So it can be quite effective and can be used that manner, which would look like this. Now I want you to take in a breath, and then I would count to 4 in my head. Then I'd say, now hold it, and then again I'd count to 4 in my head, and then release at the same kind of. So it'd look like this. Take a deep breath in. Now hold it, and release. Now take a deep breath in, and I'd repeat this as many times as I wanted to as the test. And again, that can be fantastic for you. I don't prefer it, but I like to explain that because I have used it in the past. Now, another one that I prefer is letting the subject determine their own manner of breath. Basically, I would say, now take a deep breath in, and release. And as you do this, you'll find your own method and manner of breathing, a rhythm that works for you. And as you breathe in, you're going to find peace and calm and relaxation entering in. And with each exhalation, with each breath out, you'll breathe out energy and stress. And I would tie the breath in to that calm and peace, and the breath out to releasing stress and energy, and basically building that relaxation. And I would talk about breath in that manner, and I might include a feeling of warmth entering the body, or even heaviness with each breath. There's different things you can do with it, with what works best for your subject and you. One fun way is, as you breathe in, a warm light fills your body. As you breathe out, darkness, negative energy releases. You could tie it to that route. Another thing to keep in mind is the more they breathe and relax, the deeper and slower the breaths become. So you could talk about that as well. I would say, as you continue to breathe for me, you'll naturally find yourself breathing deeper and more slowly. And I might spend some time just basically breathing with them and explaining that, and it allows them to start to relax and focus on that. Now, another fun thing you can do with breathing is tie it to something else, such as a wave on the beach, for example. It's something I really enjoy doing because it gives them something to actually visualize in their mind or imagine the idea of. Because again, some people can't see the wave in their mind, some people can. One thing to help with that is to actually go through a negotiation and learn how their mind works. I will cover that in a future episode. But for now, assuming you've done the negotiation and you know how their brain works, what you're going to do is, this method, I'd say as you close your eyes, you can imagine a beach with waves that move up and down across the sand. You'll notice that as you breathe in, the wave moves in towards you. And as you breathe out, the wave moves out. And the waves match each breath. And it brings in that peace and calm, and it takes out the stress and the worry. And going by that route, what it does is the waves match their breathing, and they don't match the waves. And it gives them another thing for their mind to be looking at, thinking about, focusing on. And it ties those nicely together. And you could even focus on the sound instead of the sight, if that works better for your person. The sound of the waves moving over the gravel, or the sand, or the rocks. Other things you can do to aid in the breathing is a light. It could even be something such as a candle flame. It could be breeze through a corridor. It could be a metronome. It could be some kind of sound or even a sensation. It could be the sensation of sitting in a pool and the water kind of lapping in and out and moving up and over and back. What I find most helpful, though, when looking at this with the breathing is finding something that goes in and out, or off and on, or high and low, that shift.
to tie with the breath. And that was just a brief example of that. Now we're going to actually go over the process and methods of the different types of relaxation inductions. We'll begin with progressive muscle relaxation, which you may or may not have experienced already. And this is going through each muscle group, tensing, and relaxing. And the point being is you add all that energy and intensity and pressure, and then you let it all go. And that can be very beneficial for the person experiencing the trance. And this can be as detailed as each individual articulation. It could be like the top of the finger to the middle to the hand, or it could just be fingers, hands. It's as detailed as you need it to be, but as someone who's experienced progressive muscle relaxation in a long form, I don't enjoy it. I like it to be more simple and basic and to the point, but that's a me bias. That's how I feel. So I would again cover that in your pre-talk. So the way it would work is when I cover a basic form, I would have my subject lying down, and I would start from the feet and work my way up. That's my preference. You could also go from head to feet, but I would say I would have them first, I'd start with the breathing and have them find a position of comfort. Then I'd say, now I want you to tense up your feet, tense up your toes and your feet really hard, and just lots of pressure and energy, and then release. And then gonna go up and have you tense up your calves, and then release. And with each time I do that, I would focus on how tense and intense that pressure is and all the energy that it takes to flex, and then how nice it feels just let go. And as you go up through each muscle and each part of the body, more and more relaxed. And one thing I find helpful personally is I will give more intensity when it's the stress part, and then relax my tone when they relax. So it's something I'm conscious of, but the subject probably isn't. It's talking about the subconscious, and then it influences the idea of it feels so much better to relax, to let go. When you're holding on, it's energy and it takes effort, and it's better to just relax. And that's what we're doing with it. It's pretty straightforward overall. You can even practice it on yourself. You can just sit there and go through each muscle group and tense and release, and see how you feel about it. And while you do that, focus on your own breathing. And by the end, when you finished with clenching your eyes and your face really tight and releasing it, it can be very helpful, and you'll find yourself relaxed. And how you convert that into the induction is, after they finish that, I would tie in with each part, letting go more and more, letting the energy release. You could also tie it into, if we're going the kink side, which that's probably why you're here, is could tie into, and as you release the tension, the pressure, you let my words in and let my grasp over your mind increase. So it's adding that power exchange in. As they relinquish control, you take control. And then your control is relaxation, it's peace, it's calm, it's blank, it's empty, it feels good. When they take control, it's tense, it's stressful, it's So that's one fun play on the progressive muscle relaxation. I may do a example. I might go through a full induction example in the future on that. If that's something you're interested in, comment, message me. It's something I'll do if there's call for it, basically. So that's progressive muscle relaxation. Now, what I prefer when I get into relaxation is a blend of other things. I will focus on the breathing and build the scene. The nature, preferably, because if you've listened to me for any minute, you've learned I love nature. I like the outdoors, I like tying that in. You don't need to, that's just my preference. What I would do is I would have them find their breathing and I would attach it to something. It could be that wave. It could be flickering flames. It could be anything. And I'm going to have them focus on that imagery or sensation in their mind as I go through the breathing. And if I wanted to include muscle relaxation, I can't call it progressive muscle relaxation because that is the tensing and releasing, tensing and releasing. But what I could do is liken it to a weighted blanket being moved up over the body. Or stepping into a hot spring and feeling the warmth move up until it fully encompasses and encapsulates. If we wanted to go that soothing route, I could also go a more intense and ominous route of sinking into sand. It depends on what you want to do, because just because it's relaxation doesn't mean it's light, doesn't even mean it's safe for work. You could use relaxation inductions for fear play. You could use it for edge play. You could use it for anything, really. So I could just as easily say, find yourself stepping down into the warm water, swirling around your ankles and moving up from feet to ankles to knees to thighs, up over your ribs, arms to your neck, until you take another breath and submerge and feel the warmth fully around your body, relaxing every muscle. Or I could go as you find yourself stepping into the cold sands, sinking with each step, the sand sucking you down as you move down inch by inch, and it move over your body, pulling you down, compressing. I could do that too. That's the fun thing about this, is you find what you want to do and you can fit the induction to it. What makes it relaxation inductions is what it does to the body and the mind. It's easing it into that emptiness. It's easing it into that space of suggestibility. So whether it's a full-on tense relax, muscle relaxation, or a breathing to the gentle flow of the waves, or sinking in quicksand, it still can be very effective. Again, this should go without saying, but if you're going to do sinking in quicksand or submerging ice water or anything that could be considered negative or uncomfortable, that needs to be pre-planned or known about with your partner. Like, I would love to receive that as a subject. That's my go-to when I'm in trance, is being uncomfortable and cold. However, that's not most people's preference, so know your subject, know what you're planning on, and just don't assume, because one surefire way to fuck up an induction and make someone come right out is go a direction that makes them afraid and uncomfortable when they're expecting. If you're expecting a warm bubble bath, you don't want to throw them in a cold plunge pool. Alright, so those are those basics there. We've covered progressive muscle relaxation. We've covered guided imagery and just the basics there. And these can be combined too. You could throw in the progressive muscle relaxation with a beach scene. You could do any of these things in any combination. One thing I like to do with my relaxation inductions is combine eye fixation, which doesn't need to be a part of, but I'm just going to add in this section here at the end for some information, because I wouldn't see eye fixation as a full episode. Maybe in the future I'll consider it, but let's talk briefly about that. It's a little bonus material for your relaxation. Eye fixation. This is focused on an object, moving or not, and what it does is it makes the eyes tired, because they have to either stare or move with it. This can be a spot on a wall, a fixed point, if you will, which I use in my Four Seasons induction trance file. Or it could be a spiral, which, if you're online, I'd imagine it's a spinning vortex of something that draws your eyes in. Could be a pocket watch or pendulum. Could be a finger moving back and forth or a metronome. It can be anything that the eyes can look at. And this can be used in conjunction with just basic relaxation. You can have them stare at something as they listen to your voice. And what it does is it can aid in that trance induction. It can make it more effective and easier. Now, some people prefer to have their eyes closed, and that is also incredibly valid. It's what works best for them. So keep that in mind, that though a lot of people enjoy the addition of eye fixation, for some they just as soon not. It's more effective if they just can close their eyes and see the scene you paint. This can, of course, have to do with what they see when they close their eyes. That is the basics on relaxation inductions and the how-to. As I said, I've got 2 different current files that basically show that. You can listen to it with the intent of experiencing hypnosis, or you can listen to it analytically and see the method I use. Those are just 2 examples. I will be doing more. I also have another one I'm working on re-recording, which is a actual fear play with the use of a relaxation induction. So, an example there, that's called The Dark Path. That'll be out October. But that is what we have today. That is relaxation inductions. This is part 1 of the inductions files. The next one is going to be on overload and confusion, where I will discuss the 7 plus or minus 2. And I'll also talk about confusion and different methods of overloading the mind. And I will do a little bit of discussion on also how to do a stress induction. So keep an eye out for those. They may be released at the same time as this, or it might be a little bit of time afterwards. If there's a topic you're interested in learning about, and it falls into the realm of hypnosis, or if you're curious if it might, send me an email or post a comment, and I'll add it to the list of topics to cover. If I don't have the experience in it, I'll look for a guest to join me on a future episode. If you like what you hear and would like to support me, you can do so on my Ko-fi, linked in my profile, or my Patreon, which offers a monthly subscription with special perks to follow soon. And also hit that like and subscribe button and ring that bell to be notified of future episodes. On SoundCloud, you'll be able to find some of my hypnotic files, actual trances, with at least 1 new file planned per month. Thank you for listening, and remember, it's okay to be confused.